Hey folks, we're going to do a different type of video today. Rant, tangent, you know me. Sometimes I like to shake it up a bit. Actually, for a while I've been kind of planning on doing a second channel altogether. But I just haven't gotten around to it. The other channel, by the way, was going to focus more on shipping history. As some of you probably might know, I'm really into shipping and history, and mostly Great Lakes freighters, mainly because I grew up around them. But no, I wanted to do a whole channel on that, and kind of the history, the designs, where, you know, kind of the history of companies and such, just on the Great Lakes. But I did have kind of a plan to do a special video, or a special set of videos that was basically just dedicated to this. Well, actually, it was dedicated to World War colliers in general. A collier, by the way, is it's a coal ship. That's all it means, is fancy name for coal ship. But I fell down this rabbit hole a while back. You may have seen a video on my channel a long time ago called The Jason and the Achilles. And that was just me finding a picture on the internet, and, you know, because I research ships a lot online. As me, you know, finding this picture and being like, what the hell is this? And, you know, it got me onto World War colliers, and then it got me, you know, anyone who follows ships and shipwrecks probably knows about the USS Cyclops at least a little bit. You know, World War I, Navy collier, went down in the Bermuda Triangle. That's the general broad strokes of it. That's what everyone knows. So yeah, I kind of knew about that, but I had no idea about the other ships in the line. And honestly, they're interesting ships. I mean, these ships were essentially ships that were made to refuel at sea, but with coal. I mean, that was the fuel of the time. It was everything was coal based, because, you know, all the steamships are burning coal at the time. Oil firing had just kind of gotten to that point, but it was still mostly coal. But they needed ships to, you know, basically recoal the other ships at sea. So that's why they built all these colliers. Anyway, it was a rabbit hole. It was a very interesting rabbit hole. I actually wanted to do a whole series of videos on the different classes of these things. And there was only a handful of them. Don't get me wrong. There was only like maybe 12 or 14 of them altogether. But what we're talking about today is why the USS Cyclops is not a Proteus class ship. Like everyone on the fucking internet and YouTube seems to be convinced of. It's a perpetual lie. It's just a myth that keeps getting repeated and repeated and repeated, and it's just not fucking true. And I guess that's why I'm kind of doing this video now. I had like a whole plan to do like very nice, high production quality videos of this. I'm not going to get to those for maybe a year. Hell, possibly even longer. Anyways, what do I want to talk about? Why am I so up in arms about this goddamn topic? Alright, well, let's talk about historical shipping channels. There's a lot of them out there. Honestly, if you clicked on this video, there's probably a good chance that you're familiar with, some of the bigger names out there, Ocean Liner Designs, big old boats. I can't remember how. Yeah, of course, now I'm drawing a blank. I should have a list of them in front of me. But anyway, you know what I mean. There are a ton of channels out there right now. Part-time historian is another one. But there's a ton of channels out there that cover ships, shipwrecks, and historical nautical stuff. Everyone's pulling from the same source. And, you know, at one point I just thought it was Wikipedia that had it wrong. No, this goes way deeper than Wikipedia. This is a prevalent myth that's on NavSource. It's on a lot of almost reputable sources. In fact, I think Clive Cussler's Numa program, I think they have a page on the collier that actually says it's a Proteus class ship. It's not a Proteus class ship, and I can't stress this enough, and I don't even know why these experts would actually fall for this stupid fucking myth. It's not even close to true. But so let's just get into the case. This is my evidence for why the USS Cyclops is not one of the Proteus class. And I mean, it's just so fucking obvious. I don't know how people can even mess this up. But anyways, I think it's just because mainly a lot of people read something on the internet and they're like, oh, okay, well, that it must be true. Anyway, all right, let's just get into the reasons. I got two main points here on why the USS Cyclops is not a Proteus class ship. And the first one is, just look at these goddamn two ships. All right, yeah, to the untrained eye, they might look very similar. You know, they both have these weird pilot houses with the flying bridge that they're kind of the time. They both have the same general layout. Their unloading rig is a little bit different among the ships, but I mean, that's going to happen. Different contracts with different companies. You know, this actually happens with some classes of ships every now and then, where they try one thing, and you know, they try one thing on one ship and they try something else on another ship. And actually, believe it or not, that is the core reason behind sort of the USS Cyclops class in general, which is sort of a class, but it's not a class. We'll get into that. All right, so just from obvious differences here between the two. All right, you got the USS Cyclops, and you got the USS Proteus and Nereus, which Nereus and Proteus are damn near identical. I mean, they are identical. They're twins. They're twin sisters. Cyclops is not even close. I mean, for fuck's sakes, look at the goddamn smokestacks. There's two fucking stacks on the fucking Cyclops. There's one on the Proteus and the Nereus. How do you fuck this up? I mean, it's so fucking obvious that they're not sister ships. All right, so okay, yeah, flimsy, but all right. Also consider this. The Proteuses, they're 20 feet shorter, they're 3 feet narrower, and they've got actually more horsepower per engine. And I know, yes, sometimes ships in the same class are built slightly larger or slightly smaller. These are big numbers. These are actually much bigger numbers. Their displacement tons are very different. Well, they're not very, very different. They're off by about 400 tons. Oh, not quite that. Maybe about 300 tons. Still, I mean, that is a drop in the bucket, but they're very close in size, which is almost understandable on how people can say, oh, okay, well, that kind of makes sense that they're in the same class. They're not. They're very different dimensions. They're similar style hulls, but they're just not the same. And I don't know why people would insist to try to point out that they are, because they are completely not the same. 20 feet doesn't seem like much. It kind of is. And, 3 feet of, beam, the width of the ship, that's a lot stretched out. That's a lot stretched over 500 and some feet. That's a huge difference in hull. Usually when you see stuff like this, you'll see small variances in length. But not to this extent. I mean, you might see it in length, but you wouldn't see it in width, or you might see it in width and you might not see it in length. This is obviously, these are two different designed hulls. It's one of those, you'd have to look into the details, but they're different. Just on looks alone, they are different. Now, reason 2 is actually going to be the bigger reason. I'd say that the more Oh, the one that carries a lot more weight. Because here's the thing, and this is what people always get wrong about this, and I'll get into why I think this myth is so prevalent, but for right now, let's just focus on when these ships are ordered and when they were built. All right, generally, a class is named for the first ship in the series. In this case, they're saying the Proteus class. The Proteus class contains the USS Jupiter, the USS Cyclops, the Nereus, and the Proteus. The Proteus class was built 2 years after the Cyclops. It was even ordered 2 years after the Cyclops. This makes no sense. They're actually on different contracts with different companies, or different yards. Cyclops was Cramp and Sons, and Proteus and Nereus were Newport News. Now, don't get me wrong. Sometimes these things happen where they split it up across a couple yards just because of the time. And yeah, the time was, they were building a lot of ships around that time. That being said, though, I mean, these were government contracts, and we'll kind of get into why that's kind of important. But the main thing you need to know is they're built at different yards. They're built 2 years apart from each other. And the Cyclops was built first. These are not the same thing. They're not even close. I don't know why. I don't even know why you would get this all mixed up. So let's go into what exactly is kind of going on with these classes. Now, the Cyclops, if I were to put it in any class other than just a class of its own, I would say that it should be probably part of the Jupiter class. And the Jupiter class is something that is... Alright, so sometimes in shipping, especially with military ships, you'll have something called like well, not called, but I mean, it's generally, it's an experimental class. It's where they build a couple of ships to the same specs, but they use different propulsion systems, or they use different unloading systems, mainly just to kind of see, all right, well, let's stack these up against each other. We'll have one control ship and one using the new tech. And in this case, you had the Jupiter and the Cyclops, which were ordered on the same contract in 1908. Essentially, what these were is, you had a representative from Michigan. He wanted extremely large colliers for the Navy. They said, well, we'll do you a compromise. We'll go with something a little bit lighter. But this is a great opportunity to test out turbo electric drives. And a turbo electric drive, for those of you who don't know, it's basically a steam turbine. But instead of powering the shaft itself, it's actually powering a generator. And that powers the electric motors that run the props. So it's kind of like a hybrid car, if you think about it. Except for steam-based. Anyway, you got... so they're going to do the Jupiter in-house. They're going to basically build it with this turbo electric drive. And then they were going to build the Cyclops. They contracted out to William Cramp and Sons. And that ship was going to be the control ship. And what happened is they're basically given a budget of $1.8 million per ship. And when they put it out to contract for William Cramp and Sons, they said, we can do it for half the price. So instead of saying, okay, well, great, we saved money, they said, all right, hey, you know what? Let's take this one step further. And the following year, like almost to the date, the following year, they approved a third ship. And that was the USS Neptune. Not the USS Proteus and the USS Nereus, which some have claimed, but no, the USS Neptune. And the Neptune was going to be a geared turbine drive, which is essentially, it's a steam turbine hooked into a gear reducer. And this was kind of an experimental thing at the time. Well, it wasn't totally experimental, but it was something that the Navy wanted to try out. they had the funding. Why not? Let's do a third one. So you had 3 ships, the Jupiter, the Cyclops, and the Neptune. And the Cyclops was basically the control ship. It was vertical triple expansion, which was the standard. Almost everything was using vertical triple expansion engines at this time. And if you don't know what that is, it's basically the big. It's like the big. It's the big pistons that you'd see with, you know, instead of gas, it was steam. So, you know, steam drives the piston down, and then, you know, they're on a cam, so, you know, they rotate like that. That was the means of propulsion. That was the big thing of the day. They wanted to test out geared turbines, and they wanted to test out a turbo electric drive just to see how they would match up against each other. And that was the Jupiter class. If you want to call it a class at all, it was the Jupiter class. But really, it was the Jupiter, Cyclops, and Neptune class. 3 separate, exact same hulls. Although the Cyclops did have different unloading rigs. That was just something to do with Cramp and Sons. Neptune was made by Maryland Steel. So you already have a third party in this. But the Navy went with... one style on the Jupiter. William Cramp and Sons went with a different style on the Cyclops. That's the aesthetic differences aside, but generally it's the same hull, just with completely different engines. It is just completely different under the hood. Those are the differences. Now the Proteus and Nereus. All right, so this is one thing that's pissed me off. There's a channel called Big Old Boats, and don't get me wrong, for the most part, I kind of like this guy. I don't like him so much now, but, you know, I was kind of a fan of this guy. In fact, I'm a fan of a lot of these channels. Even the ones that kind of annoy me, I still like them. Big Old Boats, though, just kind of really rubbed me the wrong way. And don't get me wrong, for the most part, he's a really good channel. The majority of his work is very... He does the research, and I do like that. He gets things wrong every once in a while, but most of it I can turn a blind eye to. It's not that bad. He's usually very... He focuses on the crew a lot, and I appreciate that. There's so many that get fixated on the ships, they forget, you know, the tragedy of the crews when, you know, these ships go down. But no, he does a pretty good job with that. But this is the thing. This is what got me so pissed off. He was so fucking close. He was so fucking close. All right, so initially on its face, I watched this video and I'm like, oh my god. All right, so another jackass that's saying, yeah, the Cyclops was in the Proteus class, which it isn't. Honestly, from everything I've said now, you know that it's not in the fucking Proteus class. Anyone who just crack a book open would know. But I will give the guy credit. He did research, and you know, he was very, very close. Because one of his listed sources was shipscribe.com. And the article on the Cyclops on shipscribe.com is, honestly, I'd say that's almost the gospel right there. You know, for the longest time, I was convinced that they were all part of the same class. And that was, you know, before I kind of took a deep dive into it. And then I realized, no, they're not. They're not even close. But anyways, he was looking at ShipScribe, and all right, so his whole thing was, all right, they did the Jupiter and they did the Cyclops. The Cyclops came in under budget, so they rolled those funds over into the Proteus and the Nereus. Close, very close, but not even remotely true. Because the next year they ordered the Neptune, and then it would be a full year after that they would order the Proteus. So, I mean, they weren't even ordered in the same fucking year. They weren't even ordered to the same specs. It was just typical Navy expansion, is what they were doing. They had a massive fleet that was growing. They needed more colliers. They ordered a few more ships. Not of the same style, but of a similar style. I think it was on Newport News to kind of hash out the design. Anyway, he was close, but he missed it. And the fact is I pointed this out to him in his comments. And the guy just fucking ignored me. The guy completely... And don't get me wrong, I'm an asshole. I am one of the biggest assholes you'll ever fucking meet. But I was nice. I was nice in the comments. Maybe I could see how it might come off a little, but here's my point. It was criticism. It was criticism backed by facts. And the asshole would not even fucking... He wouldn't even hear me out. I'm actually convinced the guy blocked me. Because I can't even leave comments on his videos now. So, yeah, this is kind of a reaction to some asshole on YouTube who thinks that he cannot make a single mistake. And anyone who points out a mistake he makes, well, we have to fucking ignore that guy. Because how dare this peasant assume that he knows more than I do? This is what's going on with a lot of these creators in these channels. They're pompous assholes. They are pompous assholes. And don't get me wrong, I could be a little bit of a pompous asshole too, but I can take some fucking criticism. And trust me, I don't like to be wrong. It's embarrassing when I'm fucking wrong. I was wrong on the Cyclops and the Proteus for years. When people you'd say, hey, actually, no one would ever bring up the subject. I'd always bring it up because when you're into a subject that's weird and as niche as shipping history, you'll listen. You'll talk to anyone who will listen. If they show even a mildly interested, be like, hey, did you know about the USS Cyclops went down in the Bermuda Triangle? Yeah, it had a couple sister ships that also went down in the Bermuda Triangle. And that is why, and I believe that is, we'll get into that in a second. My point is these creators that are creating these channels, don't get me wrong, there's a few really great ones that I think do listen to criticism. Mike Brady from Ocean Liner Designs, I would say, is probably one of the best ones out there. I've never interacted with the guy. He just seems like a good guy. I never want to meet him because don't meet your heroes. Not that Mike Brady's my hero. It's just I like the guy and I don't want to be disappointed by him. I liked big old boats. And now I'm forever going to be pissed off at the guy because he just wouldn't fucking listen to me and he blocked me like a little fucking bitch. Because, oh, how dare you fucking point out that I got something wrong. But no, this is the issue. This is why I'm ranting and raving. Now, why the Proteus and the Cyclops are probably mistaken as sister ships. It's really stupid, but here it goes. The USS Cyclops went down in the Bermuda Triangle. The Proteus and Nereus also went down in the Bermuda Triangle. One went down in World War I, the other two went down in World War II. Simple as that. That's all that's kind of going on here. They sort of passingly look similar if you're not looking too hard. So I can kind of see why maybe they'd think that. But why wouldn't they include the Neptune? Why wouldn't they? Well, actually, they do include the Jupiter, which eventually became the Langley, and I think that's the only reason they kind of loop it in. But I think a lot of people also came to the same misunderstanding that Big Old Boats did of, well, they took the funding from the Neptune, that came under budget, and they rolled it into two smaller ships. Not even close to the truth. It's just a lie. It's a lie. It's a prevalent lie that's been going on and on and on. Nobody will point this out. So I guess that's why I'm making this video. Because I want to point it out. Nobody else fucking will. And why do I care? I mean, all right. So these guys make videos. They misclass the Proteus. Big whoop, right? No, it matters. It might not matter to John Q. Normie just watching the video. let's face it, a lot of these guys are just putting out clickbait. And that's why they do videos on the Cyclops. Is, oh, no, look at this. It went down to the Bermuda Triangle. It's mysterious because it's never been found. There's a lot of ships that went down to the Bermuda Triangle. There's a lot of ships that haven't been found. USS Cyclops is probably one of the most famous of them. All right, my point is that these people come off as shipping historians. They come off as experts. And when experts fuck up, and don't get me wrong, experts will fuck up from time to time. Honestly, if you've read as many books on shipping as I have, you will notice that so many different sources have so many conflicting stories or conflicting details that sometimes you kind of have to put two and two together on your own. You kind of have to do a little bit of legwork. You kind of have to figure out, okay, well, which one is probably closer to the truth? And that's kind of what's going on here. But the fact is so many fucking sources have the same fucking myth. And no one will do the fucking legwork, it seems. And why I care is because, hey, this is like a history teacher telling you that, you know, the American Revolution happened in 1786. Is it a small detail? Yeah, it's a small detail. They got the year wrong. But it's important because it's a detail that they got wrong. Actually, that's probably a bigger detail. But I mean, the point is, it's something wrong. It's something wrong from someone who claims to be an authority on the subject. It's just misinformation. It's just ugly. Because trust me, I've been that asshole that got things wrong. I passed it along. And when I found out that the information I was given was wrong, I felt like the biggest jackass in the world. And that's coming from me, the biggest jackass in the world. This is why I care about this. It's a small detail. Yeah, I probably shouldn't quibble over such a thing. But it's not a small detail once you put it into context. This is history actually told completely wrong. And in a day and age like this one here, where we're trying to get to the more facts of history, just perpetuating a lie like this I think it's negligence. It's a lack of due diligence. Now, don't get me wrong, you can make a mistake, but Jesus Christ, at least be able to listen to fucking criticism. And don't get me wrong, I'm not always the nicest guy when I leave a fucking comment. In this case, though, I was. Until I wasn't. But that was mainly just because the guy just kept fucking ignoring me. And it's not like I left a bunch of comments. I left maybe 2 or 3. Because, I put up the first comment. I got a smart-ass fucking, remark from someone else. And it was just like, go away. I'm not talking to you. I'm talking to the guy who made the fucking video. And it's just annoying. Honestly, he pissed me off. I'll probably never watch another one of his videos. And it's a shame, too, because honestly, he, for the most part, makes decent videos. He mostly covers Great Lakes shipping. But he's not the only one who's done this and pissed me off. In fact, there's a lot of channels that have done this over the years. I've been more forgiving on some than others. But this guy was so fucking close. And I tried to present him with the correct information. I tried to, show him the receipts. Didn't want none of it. Didn't fucking want none of it. So, yeah, this is what I'm doing. I'm doing, like, this short little video, which is a lot longer than I kind of planned on it being. But this was my little rant and rave. Someday down the line, I'll probably get around to making that second channel. I can't guarantee it's going to be anytime soon. It'll probably be a little bit more put together, a little bit more scripted out. This is me shooting from the hip, folks, and that's why there's a lot of awkward silences, while I'm trying to collect my thoughts, and I'm getting some of the words wrong because I'm just kind of shooting from the hip here. I shouldn't say getting the words wrong. I'm stumbling over some of the words. Because I'm a little worked up over this. And, you know, honestly, if you're into shipping history like I am, you should be too. And the fact that these guys just don't care, it says a lot about them, I think. It tells me that these guys don't really care. They're just looking for clicks. They're just looking for views. They're looking for subs. They're chasing that sweet ad rev. They're shills. And that's all some of them are. Don't get me wrong. Some of them run businesses. I'm considering running a business based around shipping. Shipping history. It'll probably never come to light because I don't know. I'm not really the sort of person that I like to give out information for free. Because it's history. The way I look at it is, I read the book so you don't have to. If you want to read the book, read the book. Honestly, I'd recommend reading the book. The book is great. I'm not referring to the Clive Cussler novel Cyclops, by the way, folks. That book sucks. That book is fucking terrible. It is fucking awful. The Cyclops is barely in it. It's barely even a plot point. So yeah, Clive Cussler novel blows. Don't bother. Actually, you know, if you want to see how bad it is, read it for yourself. Because I'm just an asshole with an opinion. And my opinion's not always right. That's an opinion. Nobody's opinion is right or wrong. It's just an opinion. I think Clive Cussler sucks balls. He's only written 1 or 2 good books ever. In my opinion. You might disagree with that. I'm off subject. The point is, do your research. Don't just believe everything you listen to on the internet. If you don't believe me and you're interested in the subject, go look it up. Shipscribe.com. They have pages on these colliers that are fascinating. Really go into the details behind how they were ordered, why they were ordered. And this is the reason why I kind of consider this probably the closest thing to the true story, because there are so many details in there that they have to be, if they are not correct, it is someone with a very vivid imagination. I'll put it that way. But again, this is out there. Anyone could go look it up, and apparently every one of these assholes missed it. And it just upsets me. It should upset you too. I mean, you're basically being lied to. Yeah, you're being, well, no, this is more like a fib. But still, though, it's a detail that they're getting wrong. They're lumping in the Cyclops, the Proteus, and Nereus because they all went down to the Bermuda Triangle. Hey, spoilers. They were all loaded with the cargo that they weren't intended to carry, and that's probably why they sank. It just happened to happen in the Bermuda Triangle. A section of the ocean that they constantly traveled through, by the way. So it was bound to happen sooner or later. If you want my theories on why the Cyclops went down and why the Proteus and Nereus went down, Cyclops was carrying manganese ore, which is a lot more dense than coal. So it probably wasn't filled. I think it was overloaded, is what I think. And just bad luck. The Proteus and Nereus, that was a disaster just waiting to fucking happen. It really was, because Proteus and Nereus went all through World War I. The U.S. Navy basically had them laying in reserve for years. They went to go take them out towards the beginning of World War II, and they, because these things could carry oil too, and that was one of the neat things about them. They could do both, but they got looking into the Proteus and Nereus, and basically neither of them were seaworthy. So they're like, all right, well, we can't take these out. It would cost too much to repair them, get them seaworthy again. We're just going to sell them. And they sold them to an outfit out of Canada called, I forget the name of it. I think it's Segway Lines. Anyway, they sold them to them. They essentially this Canadian outfit essentially just put them into the merchant service. They did none of the maintenance. They didn't care. They just kind of threw them out there. And go figure, within a year, actually within like a month of each other, I think it might even been a few weeks of each other, they both went down. Surprise, surprise. They were carrying bauxite, which is aluminum ore. But either way, they were carrying a material that they weren't originally designed to carry. They were probably overloaded, and they were probably suffering from a lot of old age and negligence. They sat in reserve for decades. It doesn't take a genius to connect these fucking dots. There's nothing mysterious going on. It's a weird fucking coincidence. Anyways, that's my rant. That's my little thing. Hopefully someday I'll get my fucking second channel off the ground, and I'll be able to do like a good proper video on these things. But for now, it's just going to be this weird little rant. Probably no one will watch this, and I don't care. I mainly just wanted to put it out because I love the sound of my own voice. I screaming into the dark, screaming into the void. That's what I'm doing here. I'm just screaming into a void about how mad the world is and how nobody seems to care or listen. But them's the facts. So anyways, I'll catch you later. Thanks for listening to me talk some shit. Have a good one, folks.